Okay, it won't be long. I'm just setting things up at my end, so wait a few seconds and we'll start looking at the aeroplane. Should be quite good fun. Okay, I'm just about there. Okay, so let's go and check the volume levels as well. Yep, so volume's looking good. I'm going to turn it up a bit actually, so we can always turn it down because I want you to be able to hear the sounds of the aeroplane while we're firing it up. So this is the brand new Inibuilds T-33 Shooting Star that they have just released. So let's go and have a look around it with the drone camera. It is not out to buy yet, so it will be coming out very soon. I thought we would have a really good look around it with the drone camera and then we'll go and get it fired up. So I've put in place some of the external fixtures and fittings like the covers around the aircraft, but we're going to go and have a look around it slowly with the drone camera, and it's phenomenal from what I've seen so far. I've not actually flown it yet, so you're seeing it almost for the first time with me. I've gone basically through starting the engine up just to get my bearings in the cockpit, but I've done nothing else with it. So we're just going to have a wander around the aeroplane looking at it. The textures and the modelling, the material modelling around it is next level. It's very good. You get a number of liveries with it, it's worth pointing out. And you get the option of the original cockpit, or you can have a modern cockpit as well. So you can have either, and you can flick between them while you're in the aircraft. So we'll have a look at that once we're in it. But I'm obviously going to prefer the original cockpit because I'd want it to be as it was. So let's go and have a look underneath. Go and have a look up in the hardware of the undercarriage bay. It's really well done, isn't it? So this is the Ace Maker livery. That's the actual livery I chose. So yeah, you get some idea just looking around it. The attention to detail is absolutely wonderful. So Monty is saying we're not going to see a Lancaster till 2024, but this video isn't about the Lancaster. This is about the Shooting Star. Or this broadcast, I should say. So let's go and have a look around at the aircraft itself. It's really lovely, isn't it? I mean, okay, in the background you can see there's some F-18s and F-35s and things like that parked around. But even so, it's still a gorgeous aeroplane. Okay, shall we go and see what it looks like inside the cockpit? So I think the pilots will jump out of the way when we get close enough with the drone camera. Yeah, there we go. How cool is that? That's a fantastic cockpit, isn't it? Really looks the part. So if we come down, and move the drone camera around. They really have done a job on this. some of it isn't actually functional. Obviously the weapon systems aren't functional, but things like the radio kit and the electrical systems work. And there are some hidden features as well. So let's go and jump out and look around to the rear cockpit as well. So again, similar deal. It's very, how would you put it, sturdy, I think is how you might say. But the instruments are modelled wonderfully. Oh, the time is ticking, look. So yeah, should we go and get it fired up and take it for a fly? So I thought we're at China Lake. It seemed like an appropriate place to take it for a bit of a test flight. So do a couple of circuits here and then take it maybe around the Mach Loop. We've got obviously modern pilot hardware on the pilot models inside the cockpit. I left it on the default pilots. So these are the pilot models that it chose to put in. So they're obviously the flight sim default fast jet pilots, I think. Okay, shall we go and jump over to inside the aeroplane then and see what it sounds like when we fire it up. So first things first, let's make sure the controls are working. So there's a stick and the pedals. They're very quiet. I don't know if that's just me. There's the throttle. So in order to get rid of the ladder and things like that, if you click on this bolt on the far left corner of the cockpit, then you get some options here. So we have the option of showing payload rockets we could have outside. So there we go. Obviously that won't be allowed in the marketplace version of it, but I'm guessing they'll do an add-on where you can download it and, you know, append to the marketplace version. So it looks like some, are they Mark 82s, something like that. Payload none. Flare dispenser, yes. So I'm guessing we can drop flares, I'm not sure how. Aerobatic string, whatever that means. Luggage pod, yes or no. So at the moment we have a luggage pod. So if we were to say no to that, then that goes away. Engine covers, we'll say no. So then suddenly the engine covers have been pulled away from the aeroplane. It's really lovely modelling, isn't it, throughout? Rain covers, if we put the rain cover on, it won't stay on because we've got the canopy open. Now, this is interesting. I had a little play with this beforehand. So let's go and turn the battery on and turn the generators on. And now we can close the canopy. Well, I think we can. Unless I've got, oh no, we have to put the battery on, generators on. Sorry, I hadn't put the generators on. What if I turned on over there then? Oh, that was the ignition. I put the ignition on, sorry. We'll find our way around it eventually. Okay, I can't actually close the canopy now. That was rather clever of me, wasn't it? Oh, here we go. And then... okay, that's a bit fiddly. But we got there in the end. So, we can get rid of the chocks, we can get rid of the pins from outside. Everything's been removed now. The one thing I was going to show you is, I'll leave the aerobatic string on to find out what that is. I'm guessing there's a piece of dangly string somewhere. I was going to show you the rain cover. So obviously we can put the rain cover on now, the canopy's down. Remove it now and we'll get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to forget the sequence for doing this now. So we've got the battery and generator on. We need to go and put the fuel on, which is here. We go to the fuselage. Actually, let's go and check that on the weights and balances, see what we can do. So if I just give it full fuel for the moment, because we're going to go all the way around the Mac Loop, remember, not Mac Loop, the Sidewinder low level. So we go and put this to start, and we'll see the RPM wind up. When it goes through 9%, I think it was, we can go ignition normal. And then when it goes through 20%, I think we can take the start back off. And then we can open the throttles. And we can go for, I think it's about 68%, something like that, to warm it up. And then we can put it back to idle quickly, and that's one of the tests that you do. We also want to go and put the inverters on now. The inverters over here, whoops. So that goes up to main. So then we should get an attitude indicator. We'll let everything warm up for a moment. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, let's go and try some of the controls out. So, elevators, rudder, ailerons, and let's go and try the flaps out. Wow, they've even put the rams inside. That's fantastic. Very cool. Okay, so we will need flaps for takeoff anyway. Which way is the wind today at Chai in the Lake? It's coming 3 knots out of the northeast, so we could taxi down, or not. We don't really need to, there's only a few knots of wind, so if we go left and go down to runway 32 maybe, that might be an idea. So let's go and try head tracking out, see how well that works with it. I think this is going to be great fun. So parking brake off, and we're moving. So I have not as much as even taxied this, so this is new for both of us. It doesn't like turning. Okay, there's the aerobatic string, I'm going to get rid of that. Let's have a look at it as we taxi past the F-35s. See, while the F-35 might be invisible on radar, this plane looks much prettier. Some F-117s hidden up there around the corner, if you were wondering. Okay, so we're very heavy, we filled it right up with fuel, but we're going to find out how well it goes. I have no idea what the performance characteristics are, so we're going to do our best. So let's get our bearings on instruments. Set the barometric pressure. Reset any gyros. It hasn't got the best turning circle in the world. So, I'm guessing this is the engine RPM. We've got vertical speed, altimeter, indicated airspeed in hundreds of knots. We've got a navigation instrument there. Obviously, we're not going to be playing navigation today, though. Flap setting, clock, and pressures, and temperatures. So it should be good. What's this down here? Oh, G. There's a G meter down there. So we've got oxygen. So the one thing I'm not seeing is a fuel level. Oh, this is it. Okay. So we're very near full. So yeah, this was used by the Thunderbirds many years ago. But in its day, it was a fantastic piece of hardware. That's the thing, you know, it's easy to compare against today's aircraft and say, yeah, well, it's rubbish or whatever, but in its day, this was the best. Noisy, isn't it? So it's coming up through 100 knots. Giving it a bit of backstick. The nose is coming up, but it's not coming off the runway yet. Gear up. Coming up through 180 knots. Let's get flaps up. Getting a feel for it. It wallows. We're doing 200 knots, we're going absolutely flat out there. So we'll do a basic circuit to begin with, just to get a feel for it. And then we'll head off around the Sidewinder low level. So people are asking how twitchy is it? So let's go full throttle, going up to 250 knots. Just while we're going downwind, let's go at least get the reciprocal height of the runway while we're doing this. So you don't need much in the way of elevator trim at all. Tiny amount. Now we're coming up to 300 knots. It will do 500 knots. So let's see how we're doing from the outside. It's very stable. Okay, so maximum aileron. I'll just lift the nose before I do this. So left maximum aileron roll. And let go. See, notice what I said about wallowing. So can I show you the stick as I do that? If I zoom out, kind of zoom out further, aren't I? How can I do this? If I turn head tracking off, and then you can see the stick easily. See what I mean? It wallows a little bit. Obviously you can give it a jab of opposite aileron to stop a roll, to snap it quickly. Okay, we're coming up towards 400 knots. Let's slow this down. The airfield's quite a long way back now. Do we get spoilers? Only one way to find out, isn't there? No. I wasn't expecting them, to be honest. So, a long run in for the first touch and go, just to get the speed under control. So let's pull the throttles back to the stops. So it doesn't lose speed in a hurry. It's very, very aerodynamic. So let's lift the nose gently. See if the speed bleeds off. Down to about 240 knots. 230. That's the runway. Nearly. Doesn't want to slow down, does it? And it's got quite a high alpha angle, look. I'm not sure what the maximum gear down speed is. Does it tell you here? Maximum speed, here we go, look, 195. Wing flaps, 175. Okay, we're just about in gear range. That's obviously given us some drag, so now we are in flaps range. Doesn't want to slow down. Let's go for more flaps. Now it's slowing down. So increasing the throttle to stop it slowing down any further. Feels low. It's bobbling around. It's quite the handful on approach. Okay, so back to takeoff flaps. Full throttle. Whoa! Look at it moving around on the runway. It is a handful. I think that's the takeaway. Takeoff and landing, it's quite a handful, but the rest of the time it's okay. Okay, I think, is that a graphical... Oh no, it's not a graphical anomaly. There's something... Oh, maybe it is. There's something here. maybe something they're going to fix for the final version of the aeroplane. Anyway. So, how are we doing on fuel? I have no idea what the fuel economy is like. It's not going to make it around the Sidewinder, is it? Without refueling, it's quite poor, actually. Should we go for the... I'm not sure how this works. Need to read the book on transferring fuel, I guess. So we may have to cheat on our way around the Sidewinder low level. And we haven't done any aerobatics yet, have we? So let's see. So there's China Lake, we're just leaving up behind us. So we're going to head over towards Kernville, which is the entrance into Sidewinder. So it's Kern Valley, isn't it? So if we go and say activate flight leg, then we can see it. There we go. It would help if I looked where I was going, wouldn't it? So in terms of aerobatics then, or I guess fighter capability, let's try a high G-turn, and we'll crank in more and more elevator. So that's maximum elevator at 350 knots. What about instantaneous? If we go for... doesn't really make a huge difference, but you wouldn't expect it to. It hasn't got a flying tail like modern fighters. It's only got normal elevators. So I guess this predates them figuring out about the sound barrier. Because all of the planes post sound barrier have got flying tails, haven't they? Could be adverse yaw. Did you see that? So watch the axial line of the aircraft on an aileron roll. That one's not too bad. Oh, it's got stuck though. What about if we give it some... Yeah, it gets stuck. You need to be careful in manoeuvres. What about rudder authority? I'm going to try that again with the aileron roll. We saw some wicked adverse yaw a moment ago. Yeah, it's done it again, look. So on full aileron throw, there's a bug there, I think. This is an early version of it, remember. So there it goes, look, it's got stuck. There's a bit of a hole in the flight model by the look of it. I'm sure they'll solve that. So let's hold this at 90% on the engine, and we want to be turning east. We've got a lovely compass there. I wonder if it drifts. We'll find out in a moment. I'll use the D key to center it, and we'll find out if the radio magnetic compass has drifted. Okay, so keep an eye on this as I press D. No, it doesn't drift. Are we coming in towards Kernville? in Kern Valley. So there's the lake, so we want to be to the south of the lake so we can roll in over the dam to follow the normal route of the Sidewinder, I guess. So it's, you know, it's not unexpected that we're going to find small bugs in the aeroplane because it isn't out yet. So obviously Inibuilds have given me a copy to show you to drum up interest, and I'm only, you know, more than happy to do that. I will freely admit I am not a military aircraft aficionado, so I don't know the history of the Shooting Star encyclopedically. Obviously I've read about it in books and seen it in documentaries and in old movies. Let's push this out to 95% RPM. It's lovely and smooth, I'll say that for it. So is it Lake Isabel or Isabel Lake? Isabella, sorry. Isabella Lake. So there's a dam down in the corner, isn't there? And we line up with that, and we should be travelling 350 degrees over the top of the dam. There's the dam down in the corner. Okay, 350 degrees. So we hold this direction or thereabouts over the next few minutes until we come up to, is it the landmark called the Fingers? I can never remember. So we have to stay away from Kern Valley because there's a noise abatement area down there. You're not allowed to, unsurprisingly, you're not allowed to fly the fast jets over their town. Yeah, I've got it pretty much marked on the map where the turning points are. We'll just look at it now and again. We can pull up the GPS, of course, if we wanted to. So if we go home key on this, we've got a map, and we can centre ourselves, I guess. Yeah, but obviously I haven't got a flight plan on it, so that's not really going to help us. What's in the options page then? I'm guessing options is going to give us, yeah, you can have a classic cockpit, or you can have a modern cockpit, which I think is cheating enormously. So we'll go back to a classic cockpit. So we've just passed. There's Kern Valley and there's Kernville back there, just out of sight. And that's the landmark we're looking for our turning point. Oh, sorry, I turned the sound up so you'd be able to hear it properly. Let's go and correct that for you. Yeah, when I was firing at the aeroplane, I wanted you to be able to hear it over me. So it should be a bit better now. Yeah, I keep forgetting that because I know everybody likes to hear actually what the airplanes sound like, and I know quite a few people that put streams out on the internet almost cut the sound of the airplane down to nothing. Oh, here we go, the sim's frozen. Give it a second. There's a line in the scenery there, look, that's... Oh, maybe it's supposed to be a broken tree line for the fire suppression, I'm not sure. Or it's just a bug. So, as we come past here, we have to turn to 40 degrees. It helps if you don't slam into a hillside, of course. There's 40 degrees. So then we're looking for, there's a couple of features just on the ridge line that you can aim for. There's a couple of dips as we come over this next hilltop. Obviously, if you're doing low level, you can fly along the river down there and it'll take you almost to it. Should we try that? And see how this behaves at low altitude. See if it gets buffeted much. We're going to have to be careful because we've already ascertained that maximum aileron throw causes bugs in the flight model at the moment. Just going to move the microphone away from my mouth slightly. So it seems remarkably docile. So we're doing nearly 400 knots. Let's open the engine up. So where did we want to be falling over the top of this hill? Okay, this way. We'll go for that ridge. Yeah, I've done this several times in the past and picked different points to cross over. So if we go straight line this and go the direction we're going, I think the other side of here we'll find a valley. So you can see it on the map there. You know, there's a cutting then through the hillside. So we just completely missed a mountain. So when we get around the other side of the Sidewinder, we'll go and do Star Wars Canyon as well, just to try it out. see how it handles it. Yeah, it's definitely a USB issue that causes the pausing. I've actually replaced my powered USB hub, so it's not that. Speed is building, over 400 knots now. About to drop into the valley floor and then head along the valley. Okay, so we're going to play chicken with the ground now, are we, on the valley floor? And scare the traffic. Where is our shadow? I don't want to get too close to the ground until I can see where the shadow is coming from. Where's the sun? Is the better question. So the shadow's over there somewhere then, maybe. Okay, this is slightly... oh, there it is. It has an almighty odd shadow. So whether that means they just haven't developed that accurately yet, I don't know. Okay, that's enough fun with the ground. That's the way accidents happen. So Brian's asking, was it complicated to start up? Not particularly. You have to think of this aeroplanes of this era. There wasn't a lot inside the cockpit other than, you know, battery, generator, ignition, fuel switch. There's not a lot to play with, really. So we're making our way up here. When we get to... now it's called Fish Springs here, but that's not the name of it. There's another dam on the end of here, and that's the turning point to turn 60 degrees across to the neighbouring canyon. But yeah, in terms of configuration, you can see we've turned all the switches on for the fuel. I don't entirely know how they work or how you cross-feed those, so we'll see. Got loads of fuel though. I have been pulling it back a bit though, so yeah, let's go back to 95% on the thrust. So we've got indicated airspeed here, altimeter, turn coordinator, vertical speed, engine RPM, exhaust gas temperature. And down this side, there was the power, electric and generators. Bizarrely, there's the inverter was on the main fascia, not over with the power switches, but I guess they had their reasons. Okay, Okay, we're just rolling in towards the dam. Does look good, doesn't it? And as we saw earlier, I did a touch and go just before we set off. It was a handful to land. So landing it well is going to be fun. I think there's a graphical anomaly there. I'll have to tell them about that in the model. You can see there's like a few pixels that have bled through on the texture. Of course, it may not be there in some of the other liveries. Okay, let's get a little bit of altitude because we'll need some in a moment anyway. Okay. So there's our turning point. So we're going to turn to 60 degrees as we come over the dam on the edge of this lake. And then head over the top of the mountains. I think we're probably just about have enough fuel. We're down to 50%, but we've been burning a lot of fuel on the way. So if we cut back to 90% for a while, there's no need to be charging our way around the loop. But like I said, we can cheat with the fuel if we need to. Okay, so there's the dam. We want 60 degrees. That's going to sink into the hillside, isn't it? It's not quite holding that. You don't need to trim it much, it's quite forgiving. Which compared to modern fighters is quite or more modern fighters I should say, non-fly-by-wire is quite the exception to the rule. I wonder if it can maintain upside down. Yeah, it's fine. I like the creaking and groaning noises it makes. So Brian's asking what era would this be from? Late 40s, early 50s? The giveaway is that it doesn't have a flying tail. In the early 50s, the X1 introduced the flying tail, which is how it was able to break the sound barrier. And then everything that from then onwards had flying tails, so things like the Sabre. So it's I guess that's an easy way of thinking of it. This is pre-Sabre. Flying tail means the entire surface moves. On this you have an elevator, so it's going to be difficult to show without the airplane throwing us around. But the elevator is only is moving at the back end of the surface. If the entire surface moves, that's what they call a flying tail. So if you think about it, when you get up towards the speed of sound, a shockwave forms off of the leading edges, and anything within that shockwave doesn't really work very well anymore, including ailerons, elevators, rudders. So that's why they discovered this whole point. If you have the entire surface moving, it works a lot better. Right, so we're down into the next valley, so we're going to go round the back of this side and then down, follow it down. So is that the lava flow there? I can never remember how this goes. I think, yeah, these are the lava flows along here, aren't they? Or ancient lava flows. So when we come round over this corner, you'll see them on the ground if you've never done this before. Yeah, if you go digging around on YouTube, find any interviews with Chuck Yeager. He quite often is questioned about, obviously, you know, how did they break the sound barrier, and it's quite annoying actually. Quite often he will start explaining about how a flying tail works and why it was such a big breakthrough, and you can just see the chat show people just glossing over and falling asleep in their chair. And they weren't really interested, and it's quite frustrating. So yeah, here we go, look. So the nature of the rock underneath us changes quite markedly as we come through here. And it will change again in a moment. So we follow this all the way down. You can see where it's cut through the hill here, and it's kind of a floodplain all the way down. See what I mean? Follow where the floods have come down and cut their way through the soft rock, or through the mud basically. Stabilizer, yes. Just reading the live stream comments. The vertical control surfaces, if you want to call them that, on the rear of the aeroplane are typically called stabilators. There was all sorts of research that came out in the late 50s, early 60s around aerodynamics, you know, because they were really just trying things out and seeing what worked. So the other one was about the centre of pressure. So if you made an aeroplane that was Coke bottle shaped, they discovered it was much, much more efficient. If you've seen the movie The Fastest Indian about Burt Munro and his motorbike, that talks about that as well, because he knew about it. Okay, so we're heading for this crossing over the top of this ridge at the end. How are we doing for fuel now? We've cut the engine back. Not well. How do we get this to... I don't know what that fuse does. I don't know what the switch does, sorry. So, yeah, we may have to cheat with fuel then on the way back, because we're going to run out. Let's do it. Okay, so turning them all on, we've used them all up. We're using what's left in the fuselage now, so we have just used the fuel up. So let's go and give ourselves some more fuel. So it's not got the best range, has it? But then we have been running the engine at 95% most of the way, which is probably not the most efficient. I have no idea about range or ceiling. Literally, this is my first flight with it. When we get back over China Lake, we could take it up if you want and find out how high we can go. So I'm just going to check. Yeah, we should be going this corner. Good. Okay, so this is Star Wars Canyon coming up. It's opposite the outcrop here in the hills. So if we climb out, because we need to be the other side of it anyway, because you fly down it, you don't fly up it, and you'll see it. So if we go and get some altitude, convert some of this speed we've got into altitude. So this is it. Yeah, so we need to come in over there. Just let the nose fall. Let's have a look on the map so I can show you it. Ah, I haven't actually marked it on the map. It's here, look. So, oh yeah, sorry, I'm too early. We need to travel further south. There it is. That's the entrance. And then you just fly out towards the rocks on the far side. The Jedi transition, there's a waypoint you can turn off instead of going the long way around like we did. There's a thing called the Jedi transition which cuts you across straight onto here, which is a known marked Air Force route for training. So I just need to be mindful about the aileron bug when we're trying to make these turns, and I'm not going to go too low into the canyon, because it will end in tears. That's it. There's not a lot to it really, is there? Okay, so we turn south again and carry on down. Look at this, it's loading different textures in when we're close enough. It's very odd, isn't it? There's two bands of them, like you can see them. I do wonder if this is the refresh of the scenery that's taking place for 2024. So I don't know if you've noticed, some places have got much better photogrammetry recently, and I wonder if the model they're using has improved the 3D map that the photogrammetry builds. It's not doing it now, look, it's fixed it. It's just in particular places there's like new layers that don't quite knit up. Okay, so where do we go? 170 degrees we want. So we're going to the right side of here. We could go for altitude now if you want, just to make it a bit more fun before we get to back to China Lake. So we'll climb on the way, because there's nothing to do along here other than fly along the valley bottom. So that's 5,000 feet. If I just hold it at about 300 knots and full throttle, 7,000 feet. $8,000 feet. $10,000 feet. $14,000 feet just coming up. Just dropping the nose a little. So it will keep climbing about 2,000–3,000 feet a minute quite happily. So China Lake, I think, is out there. Or there. I can never remember which is which. Let's have a look at the map. So we're coming in over the top of the mountains here. So it's to the right. So it's out there. Right, now we've got some altitude. Should we try some spins? It's too tempting, isn't it? So we're just coming up towards 20,000 feet. And we've dropped down to 200 knots indicated. which is probably 350-ish ground speed. We can find out actually, can't we? LittleNavMap will tell us. What's our ground speed? 330. Okay. So let's go then and see what happens if we cause it to stall at altitude. So throttles on idle. So that's full back stick. And it's just nosed over. Hasn't done anything untoward at all. What if we throw some rudder in? Oh! That was unexpectedly exciting. Okay, let's try that again. So watching the indicated airspeed tailing off. It's okay, it won't tumble, or not easily, but we did see it fold a wing under on the previous stall. And once it did it, I just had to wait for it to come back out of it. I pretty much lost control authority during the stall. I wonder if we can make it snap roll if we put negative G, which will probably rip the wings off the real thing, but I've got damage control switched off. So let's go and have a look. So if we go... Almost. Let's try again. Yeah, that departed. Most modern fighter jets have got protections against that. If you go and put any of the big Russian jets and do that in DCS with them, you generally lose control of them horrendously. If you go negative on a... You can see, look, oh, it almost lost the airflow then. It suddenly struggled. But yeah, if you roll with negative G, most planes will depart quite handily. So, is there any wind since we went out earlier? Okay, we got a crosswind, but that's up here. Might not be there on the ground. So that would imply using runway 03, so we'll carry on down then and turn around and come back in. Can I show you the external night lighting? Of course I can. So I put the lights on earlier, so if we go and do that, there's almost nothing. Let me just check that they are on. Not the best inside, is it? But I guess planes in this era probably didn't fight in the nights. They were probably daytime only. I think the undercarriage will light up. So I have slowed down now, so let's go and try this. So you do get one light at the front. They are still working on this, remember. This isn't the finished product. So this was quite the handful last time. We'll see how we get on this time. We're in broadly the right place. I've not bothered tuning in the radios because it hasn't got a modern HSI anyway. Oh, it has it. Yes, this has, hasn't it? So we could actually go and tune that in. But this China Lake doesn't appear to have localized rock glide slip anyway, so we're not going to worry. I'm hoping we're going to see PAPI lights at some point, otherwise it's just going to be visual. Maybe it's the other runway that has PAPIs, or VASI lights even. This becomes very sensitive to turbulence when it's at low speed. It smooths out a bit, but then you get in the other flap limit. Yeah, we do have PAPI lights, they're just not very visible, and we're too high. Flaps up. And we live to fight another day. So we need to taxi in, I guess. So yeah, that landing was a lot smoother than the first landing. But I think the wind has just changed slightly, so it made it and coming in faster made a difference. I came on the limit last time, and it was a lot more squirrely. Should we have a nose around China Lake? Some F-18s. Some F-35s. Should go and park it next to the stealth fighters, because it will look funny, won't it? The disparity of eras. So if we come around this side of the building. Hello, Mr. F-35. It's quite easy to handle on the ground, as you can see. I'm not making too much of a pig's ear of it. Famous last words, of course. Okay, parking brake on. I have no idea how to stop the engine. That's the starter. We've just done that whole flight with the ignition on. I've just realised. Okay, so that opens the canopy. So then we can come down under here and we can press the button. And that opens the canopy up. So presumably if we just cut the fuel off, that will stop the engine as well. We never had any of the radios switched on. Then we didn't need to. Main fuel shut off, there we go. So, as I said earlier, there are a number of things that you can do to the outside of the aeroplane in this little EFB that can pop up. So if you go into ground, he says, you can put chocks in place, you can put pins back in things, you can put the ladder back in place, which will appear here. We can put a rain cover on, we won't do that just yet, hey. There's a luggage pod that can go underneath the aircraft. There's aerobatic string, which puts a piece of string, you can just see it there, and it dangles, so you know if you're yawing when you're doing aerobatics, I guess. There's a flare dispenser. You can put things like rockets and bombs on it. Not that you can fire them, but I'll show you those if I go and look outside. Get of the era rockets. So let's go and have a final look around for people that weren't here at the start of the stream. If I go... Let's go and turn the power off first. go and have a look around the aeroplane then. So we need the drone camera, don't we? And it would be nice if it was the right way up. Has anyone else noticed the drone camera always rolls very slowly right? I'm going to turn the head tracking off as well. So there we go, T-33 Shooting Star. This particular one was flown by Gregory W. Collier, call sign Wired. Let's have a look at these missiles then. 5-inch rocket body Mark I, Ordnance Directorate number 394567. Handled with care. Oh, we just went through the middle of the fuel tank with the camera. I love this attention to detail. It's great, isn't it? The little labels everywhere. So obviously I imagine the final version, you could see there were no nav lights. So I imagine that's the last few bits and pieces they're working on. Because remember, this is not the finished article. It's 99% there, but there's little bits and pieces that are missing. But the main part of the airplane is very, very good. There's a view you never thought you'd see. I'm always amazed by the attention to detail that goes into these things. Batteries by Concorde, the heart of your aircraft. Ace Maker Aviation. Lockheed Shooting Star. It's very good, isn't it? So hopefully you enjoyed that. That was the T-33 Shooting Star that's going to be released by Inibuilds fairly soon. As I said, they're still working on it. It's not the finished product. They just sent it to me this afternoon. I was about to shut the computer down when it appeared in my inbox. So it caused me to restart Flight Simulator to show everybody what's coming. And I know I saw a promo for it a couple of days ago. So it was good fun to go and take it around the Sidewinder low-level route just to see what it looked like and what it works like and how it behaves. I'm wondering if they'll have been watching this and seen that behavior we saw on maximum roll rate where it kind of locked out and stopped rolling. But yeah, there we go. I'll just put the camera over to one side, out of the way. So please subscribe to my channel, like videos. I never do this promo bit, I'm terrible at it. Yeah, I have a blog, so this will go straight out on a blog as soon as I stop recording. So if you go to johnbeckett.substack.com, the links are all in the notes of all the videos. If you scroll down in the notes, you'll find all the places I post stuff. So all of the videos go out on Substack. So if you subscribe to that by email, which is completely free, it will send you an email whenever I post anything to the internet. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.